Hello everyone! After receiving several requests to do an updated top 5 liquid foundations review, I'm finally getting around to doing it. I actually had filmed a previous version and I just really didn't like the way it turned out, so I am refilming it now for you, so I hope you enjoy this review. I'm going to start with my favorite sheer foundations and I'll move up in coverage until we finish up with my favorite full coverage foundation. So let's get started with my Tom Ford Traceless Perfecting Foundation, and this is his brand new formulation that just launched this fall, and I use the colors number 3 Fawn and number 4 Bisque. So I love this foundation because it's great for my normal to dry skin. So that means I don't have an oily T-zone anymore. I once did very long time ago, but now I have a normal T-zone and some dry patches as the winter progresses. And I do realize that I have been talking about this foundation non-stop since its release a couple months ago, and that just goes to show how much I truly am impressed by this product. It really surpassed all my expectations. I love the locking mechanism of the packaging, so it's great for travel, and I just think that the foundation works so well for my normal to dry skin, but it also works really well for combination skin from what I've read and heard from fellow bloggers. So this is the perfect everyday foundation for me because it has light to medium coverage, it's moisturizing, it has a dewy but believable finish, and most importantly it has an SPF of 15. Granted, I don't ever rely on my foundations for sunscreen protection, and I recommend using a separate SPF underneath all your products just to make sure you protect your skin, but I do think that this foundation is lovely for everyday wear just because it has that really believable skin texture, and it just makes my skin look really healthy without covering up too much. So I do have some acne here from hormones and stress, but most of the time my skin is clear, so I don't need too much coverage on the day-to-day. I just like to even out my redness on the cheeks, so this foundation has been doing wonders for me. I highly recommend it. Now for my Coquetto number 113 Moisture Foundation. I never tried the Moisture Foundation, just the Aquas, because I always thought moisture in it meant it would be super dewy. I would say Tom Ford's is fairly similar in effect, except the Traceless Perfecting Foundation looks and feels more like a traditional liquid foundation. This Moisture Foundation here reminds me of a non-oily BB cream. I've tried some really oily BB creams, but this foundation isn't oily at all. It actually has a creamy, silky feel, and it's easy to apply with the fingertips, which is generally how I put it on my face. It's great for filming. Anytime you're in HD, I think this is a great foundation. I definitely prefer it to Makeup Forever HD, and I love the shades. It suits my skin tone really well. So if you're similar to my coloring, try 113. And again, I do have normal to dry skin, so it works beautifully on me. It lasts all day, but if you have oily skin, I recommend setting with a powder foundation, something to give you a little bit more hold throughout the day. Now for another mainstay, this is the By Terry Cover Expert. I have this in shades 7 and 8, vanilla and beige. I love this particular formula because it's very similar to Chanel's Perfection Lumiere Velvet, which is the newest Chanel foundation, but this isn't quite as drying on my skin, so it's more gentle, it's more hydrating, and it does have a little bit more coverage. Especially with the winter season coming up, matte foundations can be harder to wear since they do tend to be drying on the skin. But with the Cover Expert, you can maintain a modern matte finish without compromising your skin's condition, and that's why it's such a great alternative to the Chanel Velvet formula. It claims to have a stretch velvet texture, which I know sounds odd, but in terms of application, this stuff is so easy to use. The only thing I don't like about this foundation in particular is the packaging. It has a very fluid formula that tends to run all over the cap, and you know, that's a little bit of a waste since this is an expensive product, but I highly recommend this foundation for those with normal to dry skin to combination skin. I think it's a beautiful product. Now for one of my favorite new foundations. This is the newest to join the lineup, and this is the Sisley Paris Phyto Tint Expert, and this is the new all day long flawless skincare foundation. So as many of you know, there have been tons of new serum foundations to enter the beauty realm, and the YSL Fusion Ink, and most recently I reviewed the Laura Mercier Smooth Finish Flawless Fluid. So these three are all in the same kind of foundation family in terms of liquids, but my favorite is the Sisley because it's great for my normal to dry skin. So if you have normal to combination skin, I highly recommend the Laura Mercier, and if you have combination to oily skin, then definitely try the YSL Fusion Ink. So this one is too drying for me personally, since my skin is prone to dryness. I don't ever have oily patches, so that one accentuates dryness that you can't even see with the naked eye. So that's why I don't use that foundation on me personally, but the Laura Mercier is still a really great alternative. I'll definitely be reaching for this in the summertime when it's a little bit warmer or on set. But the Sisley is the most incredible skincare foundation. I think it has a really silky serum-like texture. It's super easy to apply. I'm wearing it today underneath a little bit of powder. I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful product, and it is really expensive, but I think it gives you versatility because you can get sheer coverage to medium full coverage, so it covers a wide spectrum. I would say the coverage is very similar to By Terry, since this is also capable of medium full, but this one is a little bit more mattifying, and this one has a little bit more radiance to it. And if you like a little bit more of a glow all over, then try the Sisley. Last but not least, we have my favorite full coverage foundation, and this one is by Cle de Peau. So I had used Cle de Pau's powder foundation for a long time before I ever tried or even discovered these liquid foundations, but this cream foundation with SPF 29 is probably one of the very best full coverage foundations on the market. First of all, even with the sunscreen, it does not flash back in photos. So if you're going to a wedding, if you are planning for a wedding, I highly recommend picking up a sample of this foundation because it will cover just about anything. So a little does go a long way, and I use this one in 020, and it's almost the perfect match for my skin tone. It is semi-matte. In fact, it's probably more matte than semi-matte, but you can always liven it up with a little bit more dewy glow or wear sunscreen underneath or a hydrating primer to really bring that vitality back to the face. So I highly recommend this if you really need a lot of coverage. So even though I do wish I had bit the bullet and tried this earlier, I think it's a great foundation because it doesn't make you look like you've got foundation caked on. And I also love it because I don't have to set this with powder. It doesn't move around too much throughout the day. I don't really get those creases in my skin, and it doesn't transfer easily. So I do love this, and again, a little goes a long way. So this little tube will last me quite a bit. So even though I've used a lot, I think that it will still last me another good 6 months or so. And for those interested, I'll be posting a recap of this top 5 foundations review on my blog, thereviewer.com. So make sure to swing by to check out all the extra tidbits as well as application tips for these foundations. So at the end of the day, my recommendations may not work as well for you as they do for me because they are particular to my skin type and to my needs, my personal needs, but I hope that this will give you a good idea of what foundations you might want to sample first. So thanks so much for tuning in, everyone, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye!